I think that in the future, in the next year or two, as we build out all these agents and we have full agent orchestration systems within companies, we are going to start measuring by token usage. So we're going to say, how many dollars of revenue do I get for every dollar I spend on tokens? You'll be managing agents rather than people. Increasingly, I see us building this out, and almost everything that you do in the company will involve agent workflows.
You're listening to Owner RX with Alan Pentz, the podcast for business owners who want to scale without sacrifice. Each episode delivers battle-tested strategies from the Owner RX Playbook Library, showing you exactly how to build systems that run without you. Here's your host, Alan Pentz.
Hey, and welcome back to the Owner RX podcast, and I'm Alan Pentz doing a solo show today, and I just wanted to do a quick one on the rise of agents and tokens for business. I think it's a really important concepts that we need to start understanding as business owners, even though it sounds a little buzzwordy, and of course it is buzzwordy. But essentially, what I'm starting to see kind of emerge is a set of platforms that are going to deliver agents to businesses, and so I think let me delve into that a bit. So the platforms mainly are going to be Microsoft's Copilot, Google's Workspace. ChatGPT is making efforts at this, and I think you'll see Anthropic increasingly try to go after this market as well. And essentially, what's happening is that each of those platforms is starting to provide tools to allow companies to build agents that they can run on that platform. So, like at Microsoft, you can start building agents that take, an example would be there's a team meeting, it grabs the transcript, processes it into a set of action items that are going to like a SharePoint file for the team, or generate follow-up emails that go into Outlook. Or you could have if you're doing like a newsletter, maybe you target it at an agent at a set of documents that are old newsletters or content that you want to use for newsletters, and you say, hey, I want a newsletter on this topic, and it goes and reads that. And then you can give the agent instructions about how to form the newsletter, what it should write. So it's basically any kind of like repetitive task can be used this way. And I think that over time, we're going to see workflows really break down into these agents. And particularly when you're integrated into Microsoft or Google's ecosystem, it's very easy to have an agent take data from a Google Drive, write a Google Doc, or interpret a Google Sheet. And, like every month, they could grab, if you have an API to your financial system like QuickBooks, it can just download a P&L for that month and then update a financial dashboard. That might be a spreadsheet or, Power BI or something like that. And so these agents will run, and I see a need for sort of like a overall project management system where you can assign agents to people, and then you can monitor that they run and have a dashboard on what workflows have run through the agents. And so increasingly, you'll see people's positions, their jobs being developing those agents, making sure they work correctly, and then, monitoring their output. And so you'll be managing agents rather than people, or you'll be managing a hybrid of both, right? So increasingly, I see us building this out, and almost everything that you do in the company will involve agent workflows. And, you got a opportunity, a new opportunity comes in on the website, or new RFP comes in, it's auto scanned by an agent. It goes and researches everything on the web about that person or opportunity. It goes and grabs, maybe you have like a list of services and past performance. It rates it as, how close is this to our ideal customer or ideal opportunity? And then, might perform deep research to find out more about it and write a Google Doc or a Word document or an email, drop it into Teams or Slack and tell you that this is there and go look at this Word document with the analysis in it. That's the kind of thing I think we're going to see in almost every workflow. Same, if you think about HR, you think about all these different, or client delivery, all these things are going to be around that. And so what you're going to increasingly see is the importance of managing that agent workflow for, first of all, effectiveness. Obviously, you want them to do a good job at what they're doing, so you're always going to be tuning them and improving them, and as you learn, adjusting the prompts that they use. For instance, like I was doing newsletter content, and then I read an article about here are the 15 things that are sort of tropes that um, LLMs use often. So you kind of want to avoid this because it sounds like AI wrote it. So you just tell the agent, avoid these 15 things, and now you've updated the agent, you've tuned it a bit, right? So it's that kind of stuff. The job of the people is going to be figuring out how to tune the agent better and monitoring its work. So then what happens? So that's one optimization. The second is going to be the cost of this is going to go up. So we've lived in a world of fixed SaaS pricing, software as a service. So all your Zoom, your Gmail, your Outlook, your, timekeeping, your productivity software, everything is on a subscription basis with a fixed fee. This is largely an artifact of the idea that you could build code, right? You could write the software, and then once you have written it, actually scaling it to other people is not a massive cost, right? I mean, there's some cost, and deploying it to the cloud, you need more servers and more people to use it, but it scales very well. And so you saw software companies with 80, 90% gross margins, and the 10 and 20% was for, a lot of the, obviously some direct stuff, but mostly just like the cloud costs, right? But now with AI, it's usage-based pricing because, at least for now, the tokens, which is every time you do a search in an LLM, it's sending tokens. So that's like a word or a letter. I can't remember exactly what unit a token is. But it's a small unit of, like, if I put 1,000 words into the LLM, I put in X number of tokens and I get a response that's Y number of tokens, right? So you're getting charged right now, mostly ChatGPT is obscuring this from you if you're using it through the chatbot. So they're just saying, hey, pay $20 a month or free, and you get a certain amount of tokens. You can basically use it, and they might throttle you in different ways that you don't know behind the scenes, putting you on cheaper models or limiting how many kind of deep research kind of things that are like heavy use on the LLM. But essentially, they're kind of running it like an old SaaS service, $20 a month, $200 a month. But what you're going to see is now, if you move into these agent workflows that I was talking about, taking the meeting transcript, processing, that's not going through the chat interface. That's going through the API, the application protocol interface or programming, whatever it is. And so that is getting charged per token in the API. This is where the real money for those companies, the model companies like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic is going to come from. Unless, of course, I think there's a consumer application. OpenAI, my guess is, becomes a consumer application where they're largely monetizing advertising and some subscription services. But the others are really like Google, will have some of that because of advertising, but and web search, but really Google and Anthropic, I think, are going to be API companies. And so that means you're going to be, so like my company, we're building agents to do the stuff I just talked about in um, their agent development environment called Vertex, right? And so we're running these agents and they're using tokens and uh, as they perform their work, as they analyze the transcript and as they write the artifacts, the follow-up email into Gmail and the document that captures everything that happened in the meeting that goes into Drive, right? So it's charging us per token, right? And what we're going to see is an explosion in how, if you embed agents into every workflow in your company, you are burning tokens every time you use it. Now, that is a question of how much that expense is going to rise and how quickly, right? So right now, if you're running everything through AI, you're going to start paying thousands of dollars a month. But what we'll see over time is, hey, there's some intelligent things they can do, intelligent routing, right? So they could say, all right, these kind of requests are really basic, so we can give it to this old model. These kind of requests don't need to be done very quickly, so they can go like on a slower clock. And then these are really important and need the top. Like I'm doing this strategy for the board. I need the top model and I'm going to pay more. So I think one way they're going to do this is some kind of intelligent routing where they're looking at the queries and what the agents are doing and saying, it's good enough. And there's some control right now where you can go back and be like, I'm going to give it a lower model because it's not a very difficult process. So in some ways you'll be able to like lower the cost that way. But no question, this is going to become a big issue. And so I predict, like, I'm a huge fan of Greg Crabtree, who wrote Simple Numbers, the book, and Simple Numbers 2.0. He's really, his big insight was that labor is the biggest expense inside every company, right? And managing and leveraging labor to get the most output is what companies do. And so he started measuring this thing called labor efficiency or the labor efficiency ratio, LER. And then he decomposed LER into, hey, there's a direct component, the people actually directly serve customers. Then kind of people that might go away if the customer went away. And then there's management and admin labor, which is really back office labor, which are the people managing everything, doing the sales, doing the finance, doing all the back office stuff. So SG&A, selling and general administrative expenses. And those people tend not to go away when a customer goes away, right? They're not directly tied to one customer. Of course, there's permutations and exceptions to all this stuff. But so he really got into this thing, and then you would measure like what's the LER of a project? What's the LER of a person? Like I have a person that bills, right? So like how many dollars of revenue or gross margin do I get for every, or real revenue we call it, every dollar of real revenue I get for every dollar that I pay this person. That was like a really important measure. Or I pay all these people on this project. How many dollars of revenue or real revenue am I getting for all the dollars I pay on this project? That was a really important, and you could do it by service, by division. And so you got these really interesting findings where it was like, he has a famous story about a company that did lawn care, like they did the fertilization stuff, which is sort of a subscription service. And they did like commercial mowing for like, some big landlord or something. And they decomposed by service the direct labor efficiency. And they were getting like, I can't remember the exact numbers. They're getting like $4 for every dollar of labor they paid for the fertilization. And they were getting like $1.50 for every dollar they paid for commercial mowing. And he has a story where like one of the commercial mowers is like, some guy with like a high school education is like, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing commercial mowing anymore. So that like, that decomposing it and using that number showed everybody exactly what was making money and what wasn't. So I say all this in the sense of, I think that in the future, in the near future, in the next year or two, as we build out all these agents and we have full agent, orchestration systems within companies, we are going to start measuring by token usage, right? So we're going to say, how many dollars of revenue do I get for every dollar I spend on tokens? And you're going to have, and its potential that over time, as the AI, now I don't think this would happen today, but over time, as the AI has become more capable, more easily integratable into every workflow, you could get it so that tokens are a bigger cost factor than people. And so you're going to be measuring, token efficiency ratios. And if I have this customer, do I need more tokens to serve that customer? And my direct token, my deter, I guess is what it would be. So, um, direct token efficiency ratio. So I think that this is, I'm kind of laughing a little bit at it because it kind of sounds silly, but I think it's actually real. I think that now, where could I be wrong? Okay, I could be wrong in um, tokens will just go vanishingly down to zero because we'll just keep building more and more data centers, using more and more, and we'll push more and more onto cheaper models, and it'll just have this like typical technology cost curve to where we start, converging down toward zero marginal cost. I think the evidence is that's not really where we're going. I mean, data centers are expensive. The AIs seem to be able to keep using all the compute that we give them and keep getting better as a result. So I would see us highly incentivized to consume all the tokens we can possibly get as we build these processes out. And like, yeah, so maybe we have a bunch of, processes that aren't that sophisticated running on really cheap, old models and old compute. But we'll just find new ways to consume the higher cost stuff that get us more profit and get us more business. And so I think that, there's a chance the marginal costs drop and they will drop, right? But we'll just continue to consume the more advanced capabilities. So our overall token budget just keeps going up. It's one of these things, it's like Javon's paradox. The cheaper and more pervasive you make it, the more people consume of it. So I do think that that's where I could be wrong, but I think probably Javon's paradox wins out here. The other thing is like people could find that, the agent workflows and all that don't work very well, right? Or it could take a lot longer to deploy than I think. But I already seeing that that's not true. And I think with the advances you're starting to see with these platforms, putting out, Google with native integration to all their workplace tools and Microsoft doing the same with theirs, it's going to become increasingly easy to just deploy fleets of agents and multiple, complex handoffs and workflows. So I think it's coming. So I say to everyone, first of all, go read my newsletter. You can sign up at ownerrx.com. I'm writing a lot about this. I'm going to write tomorrow about this token efficiency ratio. But I do think that you as a business owner need to start really learning about this. I'm running doing an AI cohort training class for 10 owners right now. We're right in the middle. We're doing great. So I'll have some testimonials hopefully at the end of this week on our first half of it. And I'm getting ready probably next month to run another. So definitely go to ownerrx.com. You can sign up for the wait list for the next cohort, where we're kind of training on some of this stuff, but also start getting educated because getting these agents deployed and starting to run them and starting to understand what they can do and being on that curve is going to be increasingly important to winning in business. And I think that the companies that are able to most effectively agentify their workflows quicker, they're going to win. So that's my message today. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, read the newsletter and stay tuned for some more updates. I think we're going to probably get more involved in helping companies build out these agent workflows. So we're looking at that right now and see what's possible. But yeah, stay tuned. Talk soon.
You've been listening to Owner RX with Alan Pentz. Want to apply what you just learned? Try our AI business advisor at ownerrx.com. It has all the insights and lessons from this podcast, plus hundreds of playbooks, ready to solve your specific business challenges. Owner RX. Stop being the bottleneck. Start being the owner.